Humans and wild animals face new challenges for survival because of climate change. More frequent and intense drought, storms, heat waves, rising sea levels, melting glacier and warming oceans can directly harm animals, destroy places they live, and wreak havoc on people's livelihoods and communities. Nearly 3 billion animals were killed or displaced by Australia's devastating 2019 to 2020 bushfires. The breakdown is 143 million mammals, 2.46 billion reptiles, 180 million birds, and 51 million frogs. It's hard to think of another event, anywhere in the world, in living memory that has killed or displaced that many animals, and ranks as one of the worst wildlife disasters in modern history. The polar bear standing on a chunk of shrinking ice, apparently stranded, has become a familiar image, a symbol of the devastating effects of climate change. This image is somewhat misleading since polar bears are powerful swimmers and climate change will primarily affect them by restricting access to prey. Nevertheless, researchers agree that even small changes in temperature are enough to threaten hundreds of already struggling animals. Up to half of the animal and plant species in the world's most naturally rich areas, such as the Amazon and Galapagos, could face extinction by the turn of the century. As wildlife species struggle and go their separate ways, humans can also feel the impact. A World Wildlife Fund study found that a northern exodus from the United States to Canada by some types of warblers led to a spread of mountain pine beetles that destroy valuable balsam fir trees. Similarly, a northward migration of caterpillars in the Netherlands has eroded some forests there. Scientists have concluded that most of the observed warming is very likely due to the burning of coal, oil, and gas. This conclusion is based on a detailed understanding of the atmospheric greenhouse effect and how human activities have been changing it. At the same time, other reasonable explanations, most notably changes in the sun, have been ruled out. A single gallon of petrol, when burned, puts about 19 pounds of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Current thought about climate change uses the following facts to demonstrate how we come to the conclusion that it is happening. Flowers, such as snowdrops, are blooming earlier in the spring, and oak trees are leafing earlier. Butterflies are appearing on the wing earlier, whilst migrating birds have to change their migration routes and places where they breed. Wetland birds such as redshank will find their habitats threatened. Salt marshes will become inundated by the sea, while wet grasslands and moors will dry up during hot summers. Food shortages are already causing young seabirds to starve to death, resulting in rapid population declines. Birds, normally found further south in Europe, such as cattle egrets and hugus, are starting to colonize southern England. Birds are forced to nest at different times, in response to changing availability of the food they depend on. We will lose species that currently live in our most mountainous habitats. For example, the Scottish crossbill faces the risk of extinction. Ground nesting birds will have their nests washed away by increased flooding. Saltwater inundation from tidal surges will damage fragile freshwater habitats, killing freshwater fish and affecting the birds that depend on them. At the top of the marine food cycle, seabirds are a visible sign of the changes taking place below the surface. Sand eels are disappearing due to dramatic changes in their plankton diet. In turn, birds are not finding enough sand eel food to sustain them and their young. Despite efforts in recent years, bittern numbers are perilously low. They need large areas of wet reed bed if they are to breed and find enough food. Far too many reed beds have been lost, so we must create new ones, if the bittern and many other species are to have a future.